What's up, guys, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name's Dylan Zachary, and I'm a graphic designer and music enthusiast. So we had ourselves a great 2025. We did lots of designs, we made some cool videos, and I'm extremely excited to go through some of my favorite designs that I did for 2025. I only picked out 10 different designs to showcase and just talk a little bit about. 2025 was a great year for me because on YouTube, I was consistent. I did a video every single week, besides some holidays, and I went on vacation here and there, and then we redid The Office at the end of the year. Another hiccup in the road there. Things got pushed back, and time just kind of slips away very quickly when you're doing a home renovation project. So with this video today, we're just gonna relax, chill, and just talk a little bit about some of the designs I did in 2025 and what the future 2026 also looks like for this channel, for me. So let's get into it. So the top of 2025, I told myself for a New Year's resolution, I'm going to upload on YouTube every single week, all the way through the end of the year. And for the most part, we did do that and stick to that goal. So I'm extremely proud of that, and I'm extremely excited that we focused on all the goals for 2025. And for the most part, I ticked all those boxes. So what we're going to do now is just kind of go through some of my favorite designs of 2025. So what I did is I chose 5 random regular designs I did throughout the year that we just made a YouTube video about. And then I also chose 5 monthly album redesign designs that I did throughout the year, and those are the ones that we're going to go over. So we're going to go over 10 designs, and the first design being this lovely Bob Dylan, A Complete Unknown. So this was the first upload that I did on the channel that was design based. It was for the upcoming movie starring Timothy Chalamet on Bob Dylan's life and career. It was called A Complete Unknown, and this was a movie poster idea that I came up with. You can see here, got the Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan, searchlight pictures at the top. You got that black and white silhouetted look to it. I love how it turned out with Bob Dylan's crazy hair just going all over the place, and how his silhouette bleeds into the black strip where all the information is for the movie. Yeah, so you got A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold, and then you got all the information that you need for the film and the description of it. And then at the very bottom, I got the film as an R-rated, and then we got my logo down there because I created it and designed it. I could absolutely see this being used on the film when they released it, and I'm very, very happy and stoked on how this one came out. I love the silhouette of Bob Dylan, just kind of half chopped right there. I really love how it came out, and it was my first design and first video on the channel that was graphic design related. And you know, it just kind of sits in my heart a little bit just because it was my first video on the channel, and I think it turned out really great. On to the next one. The Who announced the final farewell tour of the United States in the beginning of 2025, and I knew I had to design something for it because it's The Who, man. Why would you not redesign something for The Who, or at least put your own spin onto it? So what we did was we took the Who logo and basically took the map of the United States, because that's what they were doing. They were touring the US of A in 2025 for a farewell tour, and we put the Who logo on top of the United States, and then we threw that thing in the Illustrator and went into the 3D section, and we made it 3D, and we kind of just changed the angle of it, kind of made it look a little 3D and just really stand out. I love how it looks. I really love how it looks with the whole 3-dimensional look with the stroke of the map, and then you got the logo on top. I love how it turned out. It looks so great, so great. I could see that on a t-shirt, on the back of a t-shirt. I actually got inspired by this specific logo from a parking lot t-shirt that I have that I feel like it could have been done a little bit nicer, a little bit better. So that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to take that inspiration from that parking lot t-shirt that I have and just make it look even better and put it on a poster with all the tour dates. So the song is over, farewell tour, and then we have all the dates right there. Actually, now looking at the dates, it wasn't really that long of a tour. I love how the poster turned out. This one is my favorite out of the 3 different variants that I made. I'll show some other variants right now. This one's my favorite of the 3 different variants that I made, and just because I love the gradient and I love all the colors throughout, all the dates and everything. I did have the chance to go see this show in Philadelphia, and it was an absolutely spectacular show. Roger Daltrey's voice is immaculate still at the age of 81 years old. Pete Townsend, dude's a rock and roll guitar icon, and he killed it, of course. And The Who, even though there's only 2 of them left, they still sound great, and they're carrying on the torch even at their age, and it's a beautiful thing to see at their age, and I'm glad I got to go see it for their final farewell tour. But we redesigned a poster for it, and that's it. That's the Who's The Song Is Over farewell tour poster. On to the next one. Okay, number 3, we have Back to the Beginning, the Ozzy Osbourne farewell show in Birmingham, England. And this is when Ozzy came back and performed for the last time for a charity gig with his band Black Sabbath, and he did some solo songs from his whole Ozzy Osbourne career. This one is bittersweet now because, as we know, Ozzy Osbourne passed away at the end of 2025. and this show was in July of 2025, so this was legitimately his last show that he ever got to perform. It almost feels like a wake that he performed at now. It was almost amazing how he was even able to go out and perform now that we know that he was in such a bad place health-wise and everything. So this poster really means a lot. I got to redesign it. You can go back and watch the original video that I did explaining this poster design and everything, and I did a t-shirt mock-up and all that fun stuff too. I really didn't like the design for like the farewell show, farewell tour, Black Sabbath back at their home base show that they released. It just was okay. I stuck to the same ideas of that poster, but I just kind of made it my own. As you can see here, I layered the text a little bit to kind of make them pop and stand out just a little bit more. Felt like it gave it a little bit more character. I created this little Skull Reaper logo, and I put the Black Sabbath and the Final Show font all around it, kind of just giving it like a crest, a nice stamp of approval. And then you got the guys at the very top. I'm pretty sure that's the same picture that they used on the original Final Show that they posted on their pages, and then the Back to the Beginning font. It's all the same font typeface that they used on that poster. I just rearranged things and just kind of layered things differently and just kind of put my own spin onto it, you know what I mean? Gave it that gritty texture, that gritty look. I kind of wish now, looking at it, I wish I made the font a little more grungy, a little bit more textured looking, but I think this is leaps and bounds better than what the initial poster release was. I think this is leaps and bounds better of what the original poster release was. I just love the fact that this has a crest to it, a logo, something to carry on with the show. You know, you could put that on a t-shirt, you could put that on a sticker, and it really has a seal of approval, in my opinion, with this specific poster. So that is the Back to the Beginning poster that sits so near and dear to my heart, just because of the fact that we know that that was Ozzy's last show, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. I watched it on the live stream. I purchased the live stream. I got to stream it all day in my living room, seeing all those amazing bands performing: Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Alice in Chains, and tons and tons of others. It was a beautiful thing to see and witness, and I'm so glad I got to experience it, at least sitting on my couch hundreds and thousands of miles away from Birmingham, but I did get to experience it, and I was there, and seeing Ozzy perform for the last time was a beautiful thing. But yeah, that's that poster, and I love it. So on to the next one now. Back in the Saddle again, an Aerosmith inspired poster. So this poster was inspired by a picture I saw. I think it was on Unsplashed or something. Every once in a while I like to go through there and just see all the different pictures that people upload and everything, and I had this idea of doing something with horses running in the background, and I also have this, I think it's called Dither, or it's a plugin that Doron Studios, go check them out if you haven't. Doron Studios supplies on his webpage, and I was just kind of messing around with, and that's what I was using, was a lot of his plugins on this, so I really wanted to mess around with it. So I had this idea to grab these horses, kind of just mess around with the grains and the washes on that plugin, and that's kind of what this is inspired by, along with the Aerosmith inspiration. We got this really grainy horses running in a field, got the water splashing, and you get like kind of misty and cloudy. Got the horses running, and then I wanted to do an Aerosmith inspired poster because I was listening to a lot of Aerosmith at the time. And so we got Back in the Saddle again, real big with that typeface, and then at the very bottom we got the year 2025 in Roman numerals with "I'm back riding high," because those are part of the chorus of the song. That's that poster. This one was just fun because I had no idea what I was doing. I knew I wanted to do something, and I just went in there and started moving and messing around with things, and this is what we got. So that's why this one's really cool. I actually kind of want to print this one up and put this on my wall. I really dig it. I like the Western feel to it. I like that it's related to Aerosmith, but there's no Aerosmith branding on it anywhere. I love the colors. The colors are really awesome with the reds and the blacks and the green there with the horses running. And then we got the beige color with the Back in the Saddle again. It's a really cohesive piece, and I just really like the rugged grunge look to it. But it's not over the top. It's not over the top. It's very subtle, and it just looks really good. So that's it. That's Back in the Saddle again. On to the next one. This is a bumper sticker design I did for Dead & Company live at Golden Gate Park, and just like Ozzy Osbourne, this was Bob Weir's final show now that it's 2026, and Bob Weir ended up passing away at the beginning of 2026. A sad moment in time, knowing that this was Bobby's last show. I knew I wanted to make a bumper sticker for this specific show, just because all the past shows I've done for the Grateful Dead from 2023 forward, I've done some kind of bumper sticker, some way, shape, or form. So I knew I wanted to make a bumper sticker for the show. So what we did was we just wanted to stick to the color palette that was the show branding already. So we stuck with these pastel colors, the purple background with the yellow font, and then we got all the Grateful Dead emblems and all the stuff that the Grateful Dead are known for strewn throughout the piece. The picture that is on the bumper sticker is an actual picture that I took in 2020 before lockdown. I went on a little vacation out into San Francisco. I actually got to see the Grateful Dead house, got to hang out around Haight-Ashbury. I took these pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge in 2020, and I've just had them in my archive, and I knew that I wanted to use those pictures because it's a beautiful picture, an absolutely stunning picture that I took. I enhanced the colors and everything, but other than that, it's a stock photo that I took, and it means so much to me because I know I took it, and it just fits with this vibe so well with the color correction and everything with the photo. It's beautiful. We got the Somewhere in San Francisco, real strokey, bold, thick font there. All the emblems and everything are completely stroked out. Got them thick strokes. It's got to be a 5-point stroke on all these. I'm not even joking, but I knew I wanted that bubbly feeling typeface and the bubbly feeling logos and everything. And like I said, we stuck with the pastel colors. We got the deadbolt, and we just stretched them out and just made them look just different than what they normally look like. But it's a 13-point bolt, and we put them on there on the ends there just to kind of cap everything together, kind of, square everything off. And then we got some roses all strewn about through there just because it's another vibe of the Grateful Dead. And then we got the Golden Gate Park Grateful Dead 60 2025 at the very bottom underneath the picture. And it's just a very nice, cohesive piece in my opinion. It's one of my favorites that I've done all year long. This one was just, it was really fun. We got the Somewhere in San Francisco at the very top. We got On a Back Porch in August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd because those were the dates. And in the song Standing on the Moon, which is where this is pulled from, Somewhere in San Francisco on a Back Porch in July is the actual lyrics. But I wanted to change it up and actually put the dates of the show in there. So we did Somewhere in San Francisco on a Back Porch in August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And like I said, it's just a cohesive piece. It looks really good. Color-wise, it's beautiful. It has a warmth to it. It's one of my favorite designs I did this year completely. It's probably one of my favorite designs I've ever done, to be honest with you, just because it's so cohesive and it's just a very beautiful piece to look at. This is what graphic design is right here, this piece in my opinion. Yeah, so that's Grateful Dead's 60th anniversary celebration with Dead & Company at Golden Gate Park, and that's the bumper sticker for it. So now let's get into the next round of designs, which is all monthly album redesigns that I did throughout the year. I grabbed 5 of them that I did that are kind of my favorites. I like them all, but these ones are the ones that really stand out to me. So the next couple designs that you're going to see are all monthly album redesigns. So let's talk about them now. Nevermind the Bollocks, Sex Pistols. I knew I wanted to do a punk rock record when I was doing this album redesign. I was on a Sex Pistols kick there for a little bit. They announced a tour with a new singer, Frank Carter, and I was going to go to that show, and then I got canceled and yada yada yada, everything goes on. I was on a Sex Pistols kick, and I knew I wanted to redo an album by the Sex Pistols, which of course it's going to be Nevermind the Bollocks. So I up there have the Holy Grail wall over there. Right now the wall is completely different. For the whole end of the year I had Nevermind the Bollocks up there along with some other albums by the Stooges and other people. So I was on a punk rock kick, so I know I wanted to redo this record, and I had this stamp idea to do like a English stamp kind of vibe. So I was trying to do this stamp idea, and I knew I wanted to incorporate a very English type vibe to it, so I automatically thought about the phone booth that you see around still to this day in England. So I knew I wanted to use that. So I sourced this photo of a telephone booth, and the reason why I chose this photo too is because in the background you can kind of see like a building in the background, and it's all black and white. In the phone booth it just looks old and worn out and torn and tattered, which I love for the aesthetic wise. So then we got the Queen up there, kind of sticking to the Sex Pistols vibe of always using the Queen on a lot of their stuff, and then like Xing out her eyes and her mouth and everything. So we went with that vibe again over there in the corner, kind of giving it that stamp vibe. And then of course got Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols. We got rid of the Here's the Sex Pistols part and just stuck with Nevermind the Bollocks, giving it a different rebrand there. But I just love the way that this thing sits on the background, how that phone booth is the focal point, and it just screams English in my opinion. Like this thing just screams England. This screams the United Kingdom in my opinion, and I could absolutely see this being used as the Sex Pistols album cover. So we're going to talk about the back part of the album cover. I knew I wanted to do like an envelope style back cover, sticking to the stamp vibes and the mail and everything. So what we did is we used this torn, tattered piece of paper look texture, and then in the background we got a nice yellow flushed background here, and we got the same Queen with the X'd out eyes and the mouth, except it's black and white now. And then we got the track listing here of the album, Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, and we got this little fancy stamp over over there at the top, kind of torn and tattered too, and it's got the phone booth, so it ties to the front cover. And then we got the Sex Pistols logo in the top left-hand corner. This is probably one of my favorite back covers I designed all year long. This one just, it has depth. I love a good design that has a lot of depth and it really stands out to you and like feels very three-dimensional. I always try to incorporate depth and like a grungy factor in all my designs. This is what I really like in design. This one is just perfect for that, with that whole torn look to it. This would be a perfect back album cover in my opinion. And I love how we also use that little stamp with the phone booth in there. That just, it ties everything perfectly with the whole front cover having the phone booth and then that little stamp piece trying to tie in with the mail and stuff. Awesome cover in my opinion. One of my favorites I did of the whole monthly album redesign series. That being said, get on to the next one. And so here's the next one, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This one was really fun because this is kind of like an analog mix. I took this heart. This was a heart I actually colored up, and I did 4 or 5 different hearts. So we colored it in. I ripped the heart in half, which was the hardest part because I wanted a specific jagged edge to it. So this is the one that made it, and then I took it in, scanned it in, and then, you know, we got rid of the paper background and everything, and then we basically just kind of faded it to black, if you will. If you can see, there's like this gradient to it. Just changed the opacity with over 4 or 5 different hearts and just had it fade into the background. I love that you can see the white rip there in the heart. We just kind of gave it a little grungy texture there on the lines and everything, just to kind of give it a little bit more life to it. And we got the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers font. I love that font. And then the back cover is even cooler than the front cover. I found this awesome picture of the band, and it's Tom playing with the Flying V, which is kind of like a throwback to the logo of the original first album cover, which what this is based off of is the first record of the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. The original logo of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers is a flying V going through a heart. So that's why I chose this photo of him playing with the flying V with the band in the background. And then once again, we gave it some dimension, some depth, and we layered the Heartbreakers and Tom Petty. And I wanted to give it more of a punk rock vibe because, like I said, I was in a very punk rock mood at this time. So it made it really grungy, really distressed. So I wanted to do this, the Heartbreakers, I wanted to add that little dash in there to kind of chop it in half and make it really grungy, distressed, and different. And then we took the heart, colored in and scanned in, and we just kind of split it in half and made it look like it was kind of like a sad heart, very broken heart. And then we added the track listing over there in the top left-hand corner, and it's all staggered and everything. And I love how that staggered worked out with the time signatures and everything. At the time, this record was released on Shelter Records, so we added the logo stamp up there of Shelter Records, and then the record SKU number. All the distressing and just how this came out is just perfect to me. This is a perfect album, just like the Sex Pistols album that we did. The distressing is absolutely beautiful. I just love how this one came out. It was a fun piece to make. For some reason, with all these designs, the back album covers are just extra tasty. Back album covers came out so much better than a lot of my front album covers. That's all part of the fun and just messing with stuff, and that's the fun thing about design. And then we have the Beatles Abbey Road. This one was really fun because I had this idea in mind with this curly Q and then the big Beatles type. I wanted to touch base to the original album cover of the Beatles with them walking across the street, but I didn't want to include the street. I just wanted to use their silhouette. So what we did is we got this big spiral here. It kind of looked very cloud-like, very whimsical, and then we added the silhouette of the guys at the very top walking across the street, so it's touching base to the original album cover of Abbey Road. And then I found this typeface. I forget what the typeface is, but it's just very big, bubbly, 60s, happy, whimsical feeling, and that's the whole vibe of this whole album, was a very whimsical feeling. I wanted it to be fun and just not so serious and straight to the point like the original album cover, because it's very hard to redo an iconic album cover like Abbey Road. So that's kind of why I went on a completely different spectrum and went with this more whimsical vibe to it. Kind of reminds me of something that like David Bowie or something along those lines would have an album cover style of. So yeah, so we got these absolutely blown out, hard mix. We just completely blown them out and changed all the colors up on them. Kind of touched bases back to the original Let It Be album cover. Just obviously added a lot of colors and a lot of distressing and noise on these specific photos to make them really grainy, and just add a lot of flavoring with the colors and everything. We added these stars in there to get that more whimsical feeling and more poppy 60s vibe in there. So yeah, we got this blown out orange background. At the very top, we got the record SKU. It's honestly just a very fun album cover, and I had a blast making this album cover because, like I said, it was very hard to rethink an already iconic album. So I wanted to do something completely different, and it all started from the spark of that spiral, and then we just went from there. It just spiraled from there. And here's the back cover of that album cover. So we wanted to take the spirals and kind of bleed it into the back cover, so we have the spirals on both sides there, kind of just bleeding into the cover. At the very top, we got them, you know, walking across the street again on the spiral. Added the stars, added the big bubbly Abbey Road with the Beatles at the bottom, keeping a very whimsical and poppy feeling again. Got all the track listing and everything, and then we got their faces there again onto the back cover. The biggest thing with this album cover, in my opinion, that I really enjoy is just the sheer colors in it. The purples, the pinks, the greens, the oranges, and they're all blown out and just very vibrant, and it just has like a certain feel to it. I keep using the word whimsical, but it's like it just feels magical and whimsical, and like, I don't know, I feel like it's just very Disney-esque in my opinion. I don't know, it's just very poppy. Something completely different than what I would normally do. There's a lot of distressing on here, a lot of noise. It's just, it feels something completely different than what I'm usually doing, and that's another thing that I really like about this, is that it's completely different. One of my favorite designs also of 2025 is this right here, just because it's so different, so out of left field for what I usually do. I don't know, it just has a feel to it. I really love it. I really love it. But that's the Beatles, Abbey Road. On to the next one. And then we have this Led Zeppelin one. This one was more closer towards the end of the year, and this one was so much fun to do. As you can see, it's very resemblant of the original album cover, and I really wanted to stick to the original album cover design, but bring it a little bit into the modern day, just a little bit. I say this already in the monthly album redesign video I did for this specific design, but I'm gonna say it again. This album cover is really hard to redo completely because it means so much to me, because of the fact that this album, it embodies Led Zeppelin so well. The explosive Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin did the exact same thing when they first released in 1969. They exploded onto the scene and then just took the world by storm. And then obviously Led Zeppelin's still around today, and they haven't performed since 1980, all those years ago. That's over 40 years ago. They're still just as explosive as they were when they first released this album in 1969. So that's why I wanted to stick to the Zeppelin, just like on the original album cover. But sourced another image out, found another colored image, and I blew out all the colors and made it extremely grainy and distressed it. And then we added this awesome text up at the very top and just kind of made it very 3D blocky looking and a little bit more modern, because like a lot of modern designs have this text style. And then we added these little lines here just to kind of tie everything together. Once again, with the fiery explosion, creating that depth there with the Led Zeppelin and everything. You wouldn't do that normally on a brand new release, because you want that name very there in the forefront. But obviously with Led Zeppelin, this album is 50, almost 60 years old at this point. Everybody knows this album cover. Everybody knows this band, so you can have fun with it and give it some depth and add that fiery explosion there. But yeah, so basically that's the front cover, and I love it, and it turned out really great. And then we have the back cover of the album. I also wanted to stick very close to the original album cover, which is kind of just a couple pictures of them on a beige background with their name on the background, and I wanted to stick very close to that because the front cover was so busy and had so much texture and everything else. I wanted to stick to a very plain, clean slated background. The Zeppelin guys just released a documentary not that long ago, and this picture at the bottom left-hand corner was used for that documentary, and it's just always been so intriguing to me. So I wanted to source that image out and use that image for this background because it's just so crystal clear, and it just grabs a hold of the band at that specific time period so perfectly, which is how young they were, how explosive they were, and it just captures them so perfectly, each individual. But they're all there in one unison, being Led Zeppelin. So I wanted to use that photo, so I made sure I sourced that photo out, and it works perfectly with this design. The Led Zeppelin Rocks, I explained that in the other monthly album redesign video if you want to go back and check that out. The Led Zeppelin Rocks was just kind of like a ploy. Like, I was thinking in like terms of, okay, if you were an executive trying to sell this band, what corny way could we go about, advertising this band to young kids at the time in 1969? So we went with this Led Zeppelin Rocks kind of design, and we put it on billboards in the video and everything. You can go check that out. So that's kind of where we went with this Led Zeppelin Rocks thing. It's super corny, but it's really cool because I was trying to think about what they would do in the 60s to advertise this brand new band. Yeah, so that's the back cover. Got the track listing, got the stereo with the record SKU at the top, Atlantic Records, promotion not for sale. Everything ties together beautifully, nothing too crazy, not too many bells and whistles, very clean slated, and it packs a punch for the back just as much as it does for the front, in my opinion, because the front's so busy, the back had to be a clean slate. And this album cover and back album cover is another great piece, in my opinion, in the designs I made this year. I hope you guys dig it too. And now on to the final design that I chose for 2025. And here is the final design. This one kind of came out in the beginning of the year, kind of when The Who released the farewell tour plans and everything. I was listening to The Who a lot of the time because I was excited about that tour. So, I was like, you know what? Let's redesign Tommy. And Tommy, if you don't know, is a rock opera, one of the first rock operas out there. And it's a great album front to back. Go listen to it if you haven't. Phenomenal record. And so I really wanted to use a character in this design. So what I did was I sourced this photo of a weird person in a mask on Unsplashed or one of those sites out there. I put this underwater texture effect over top of that, and then I blew out the photo insanely. I warped it all over the place. His face actually was normal looking at one point, so I wanted to make it really weird and just disturbing. Because if you listen to Tommy, it's kind of a disturbing, about a deaf, dumb, and blind boy and all that stuff, but like it's a very disturbing undertone of an album. I kind of wanted this character to be a little uneasy, you know what I mean? So that's what we were going with on this. So we got this blown out figure here that's under the water, kind of like he's drowning a little bit. He's got some stress on him, whatever analogy you want to use. And then we did Tommy, can you hear me at the top, because that's a saying throughout the whole album that is said a lot. Tommy, can you hear me? That's said it throughout the whole album. I wanted to do something a little different than just your typical The Who Tommy, branding. I wanted to do The Who Presents Tommy, because this was used a lot in the 60s. They did a lot of so-and-so presents this, or the Beatles do this, or whatever. So we went with The Who Presents Tommy instead of just The Who and then Tommy in big bold letters somewhere. This dove character on the side of The Who Presents Tommy is used in the first album. I think on the back cover there's like these little birds throughout the whole gatefold and everything, and I wanted to touch base to the original album cover. I always try to touch base to the original just a little bit, just to kind of keep them in unison with one another. So that's where those little birds come from, is from the original album cover. And then we got the record company down at the bottom left hand corner, and we got the SKU number at the bottom right hand corner of my actual original album. And yeah, so that is the front cover of The Who Presents Tommy. And this is the back cover. We took that character and flip-flopped it and mirrored it on both the bottom and the top half of the record. We put those birds all throughout to kind of touch base to the original album cover once again. We got The Who Presents Tommy at the very top, kind of blends in with the birds, but I wanted to do that. Usually I like to create depth, but I wanted this to kind of blend in just a little bit on this one. I don't know why, just went with it, but once again, it's kind of got that depth a little bit because we got the presents, it has that blue backing to it, and the bird doesn't really have any stroke or anything like a drop shadow or anything on it. Yeah, so we just got everything just kind of blending in together there, and then we got the side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, because it's a double album. We got all the sides there, all the track listing and everything. We got the Decca logo at the very bottom there to once again tie into the record label at the time. This one is just a nice, cohesive, weird back cover in my opinion. So yeah, that's the designs I chose for the 2025 designs that I did. I did all kinds of designs. There's tons of others in the archives. There's a couple I didn't even upload on YouTube last year. I might upload them this year, who knows. Maybe I'll make a video, maybe I won't. And those are some of my favorite designs I did in 2025. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Go back and check out those videos. They're all fun in their own right. Each one of them I kind of go deeper in on their actual videos. 2026 we got some more stuff coming. I'm actually going to be focusing a little bit more on shorts this year rather than full-length videos, because the shorts gets a little bit more traction, and I'm trying to get more people in to then look at some of the previous videos I did and obviously the future videos that I'm going to do. We got some cool things coming up. We got like a Monday music suggestion I'm going to be doing very shortly, where I just suggest some stuff that I'm currently listening at the time, and I just want you guys to go back and listen to it too. Got some Monday music suggestion stuff. We got this book right here that I'm going to be pulling some stuff from. It's called Guitar Gods, and it's just a bunch of pictures and like a synopsis about different guitar players. And I'm going to do a guitar player series here very shortly. Maybe not as extensive as like the monthly album redesign series, but I want to do something in the music realm again. And I'm a guitar player, as you can see back there. I got some guitars on the wall. I'm going to be doing something along those lines. We got a couple different ideas. I might not be uploading nearly as much as I was last year because I want to focus more on shorts. We're still going to be designing, still going to be making videos, and we're still going to be having fun and talking about life and everything under the sun. So be sure to check out all my other videos. 2026 is going to be really cool. I got another video coming out very soon of the whole office redo that we did, and that's going to be really awesome too. That's been in the chamber for a little bit now. But yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps out so much to a small-time YouTuber like myself. And on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.